friends of ARC. Thank you so much for stopping by today and joining us on the second episode of season 2 of the ARC series. My name is Christina, and I'm one of ARC's co-founders.
And my name is Aaliyah, and I'm also one of ARC's co-founders.
In this series, we'll be joined by special guests, Asian Canadians who we believe are amazing inspirations in our communities. In each episode, we'll be highlighting an Asian cuisine we have delivered to our guests from a local Asian restaurants, or restaurants to be more precise. Our hope is that in these sessions, we get to engage in fun conversation about our Asian Canadian experiences over food. Because hey, what better way to capture our cultures and cultivate meaningful relationships than with food?
Yes, and today we are very excited to have a special guest joining us. Ramanpreet Annie Bahra, or Raman, is a PhD student in the Sociology department at York University in Ontario. Her research concentrates on social theory, fat studies, and disability studies. She is one of the co-editors of the upcoming anthology, Fat Studies in Canada, Remapping the Field, which is currently in press. And she's also an inaugural junior fellow with the Center of Fat Liberation and Scholarship. Following new Materialism and Affect Studies, her research interrogates the intersections of fatness, race, disability, and gender to offer an alternative perspective on the notion of the body and embodiment. In addition, she is exploring the ways in which feminist pedagogical practices rooted in social justice principles, research creation, vulnerability, and emotionality can challenge the neoliberal mandates of post-secondary education. Welcome, Raman. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. Hi, Aaliyah and Christina, and all the viewers of the ARC channel. I'm so sorry. I just realized that bio is really long.
Okay.
No, oh my God, no, that's a good
Okay.
It's all good.
First of all, thanks for having me here today. Even if it is virtual, it's so nice to see you. And this has also like been in the making since our first Instagram live, right? Meet my mentor with
Yes.
Aaliyah. So I'm so
Yes.
excited to share the screen again with you. Some good food and some good talks.
Absolutely.
Speaking
Yes.
of good food, Christina, do you want to go first and tell us what you have ordered?
All right. So apparently tonight's theme for all three of us is Hakka cuisine. This is my first time actually ordering Hakkas. I'm very looking forward to having this. In this case, the restaurant that I ordered from is from Everest Hakka House, which is along Lakeshore Boulevard West, and it's around the Mimico area. So first things first, I got the paneer pakora, cheese fritters basically, to my understanding. And next, I have the Manchurian tofu. I'm trying to cut back on my meat consumption. Plus, it's Lent. For dessert, I got the gulab jamun. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing this right. Yeah, there we go. Better view, I hope. And then the second part of my dessert is pista kulfi. In this case, pistachio. It's already melted, but that's okay. I'll just chug it.
Drink it.
Drink it. And then last but not least, I am very excited for the mango lassi.
Nice.
Love it. I'll go next. I ordered from Urban Hakka. They have great reviews and the food smells amazing. I put things onto plates because it's a lot of packages. So I got the vegetable chow mein. I got the veg momo. Obviously rice because I'm Asian and I can't have a meal without rice. Eggplant with a spicy garlic sauce. And I got veg pakora in a gravy. Oh my God, it all smells so amazing. I also ordered a mango lassi that is unfortunately not here, but it's okay. I'll get it next time.
If you have yogurt, just put water in yogurt and add a little bit of sweetener to it. And there you go. You got lassi.
Okay, I'll talk to you later about how to put that together. What did you get?
All right, so I don't think we all know that I go to York, so that's Toronto, but actually I'm from Brampton. So the city known as Flower Town of Canada, the city of all the memes. right? On brown people and bad Brampton traffic and bad Brampton drivers. But it's all jokes aside, it's also known for its food culture. So we have actually a lot of annual, we have annual events like Carabram, which celebrates like this multicultural, again, because I'm very critical of the term multicultural, multicultural city we live in. So something I wanted to bring in today was Hakka cuisine when I recommended to Aaliyah. I was like, let's do Hakka. It's close to my heart. Food culture in general runs in both my city and my family. So it was important for me to share with you guys a little taste of what I have. So a local restaurant I chose is very close. It's downtown Brampton. It's called Singapore Garden. I've been going there since I was a kid. So a lot of fond memories, a lot of great relationships fostered with the owner. And the cool thing is that growing up, this was like one of the first immigrant Asian women running a culinary business in Brampton that I saw. So for me, that's always been something that I've always loved going there for that reason. So Singapore Garden, for those who are interested in, it's in Brampton, located downtown, serving Indo-Hakka Chinese cuisine. So I ordered quite a bit to share a little glimpse of everything. So I started off with, let me show you. As an app, there's hot and sour soup. Sorry, it's in plates. Hot and sour soup and fish pakora. So the hot and sour soup is really nice and tangy. It has it's a nice broth. And then for mains, there's a mix of, I'm a meat eater, so I ordered meat. Mixed chow mein, so Hakka chow mein, and then fried rice, some chili chicken, and crispy beef. So that's what I did. No dessert because I don't like sweet stuff.
Oh my God, Roman, that looks so, so good. What's called? Let us now begin the actual question and answer period. And Christina, take it away.
Yeah, and honestly, feel free to eat your food at any time as we ask the questions and we keep the conversation going. So in this case, my first question for you, what is your favorite comfort food? Or alternatively, based on your social media, we know you're a fantastic cook, especially from what Aaliyah has even told us. What is your favorite meal to cook at home?
Oh my God. So besides doing a PhD, I have an imaginary restaurant that I run in my house. That one day, hopefully, I jokingly say if all else fails, I will open my own restaurant because I love cooking so much. So yes, I tend to spam my followers on Instagram with my cooking, and I'm sorry for making y'all salivate. It's like the first thing I could say. So like I love cooking various things, but to me, comfort food is like curry chicken with a velvety curry along with either tandoori naan, which is, just roti made in the oven to get that nice poofiness, like you would get at a restaurant, an Indian restaurant, like naan bread. So that, or just with simple aromatic cumin and onion rice, and a side of like yogurt, which has like shredded cucumber, tomato, coriander, like a lot of freshness to bring coolness to the meal. That's basic. I just described my last meal. Like if I were to, if I were to go tomorrow, like that is the last meal I request. So like that's my comfort food. I love it. Food is my love language, cooking food for people. So my favorite meal is definitely a spicy curry chicken.
Oh my God. And I've seen for the people that watch this, I mean, Raman, if you want us to share your Instagram, we can. Like the way that you also make the videos, it's like watching art. And the amount of times I'm a big MasterChef fan, the amount of times I told Raman, like, Raman, MasterChef, like you will win. Like I know you would win. Like just it's an art form watching how I've never even seen you cook in person, but like watching your videos, you don't even know. I get so excited when I see that you're in the kitchen. I'm like, yes. So no, truly, like Raman's an amazing artful cook. comfort, and same thing. Like I mean, I cook, but like as Ramen knows, like I'm a huge lover of eating out. Like I just love ordering and the amount of times where I'll be like, cook something. I'm like, yeah, I should cook. I should cook. I'm spending too much money that I don't have. Um, but my comfort food, I think, would definitely be. It's hard to choose, but it would be like a mixture between my dad's cooking, like Filipino, like classic Filipino dishes, like sinigang, um, bangos, like it's like this fish. Like so, I always say I'm plant based at home, but if I go to my parents' house and they make like a fried fish that I could never make, like oh my god, it calls to my heart. So like I'll have that sometimes. And honestly, I haven't had Hakka, and I was talking to Patrick about this last night. I haven't had Hakka in like I think 7 years. It's been years, and I have to say that this needs to be added onto my comfort food list because oh my god, I've just had a couple bites and I'm in heaven. Like so like Asian food, what's it called? Pho, Thai, obviously now Hakka, all part of my comfort food. Christina, comfort food?
Yeah, there's a lot. In terms of eating out, I would say this can range from like sushi, dim sum, Penang curry, especially with Thai food, Thai iced tea, bubble tea. Honestly, there's a lot. And if it's at home, in terms of like my parents' home cooked meals, sinigang or sisig, or if I'm cooking food, it'll basically be like baked salmon with a side of sweet potato fries.
Nice. Yeah, like there's so much. Like if it's not Indian food, I think for me, comfort lays in lasagna, like a nicely layered,
Ooh. Oh
which
my god, I didn't know you like lasagna.
oh my God, I love lasagna. Like that is yeah, like that's another meal on my last meal list. Like a lasagna with a really nice ricotta, spinach, cheesy, layer.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that sounds so good. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So
It's
like
so funny, like we're foodies, we're eating delicious food and we're still talking about food. Like we're salivating over food.
oh my God. Yeah, like it's just that's how it is, right?
Yeah. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
Hakka is just it's amazing. Like to me is it's a nice mix because it was really cool like when I used to go to Fredericks, which originally so I was born in Richmond Hill. And then from 1990 to 97, we were in like Richmond Hill, Scarborough, Markham, like that was our area moving around. And there was this one Hakka style restaurant. It was called Frederick's Restaurant, which is now like also that one small little location has become like this huge franchise all over Ontario, which is really nice to see that like the big moves for like Frederick's. So like even like memories of having like Hakka food has always been like Hindi music, having like your servers like these Asian men like from either Singapore or there was like the Asian diaspora from India here and they would be speaking Hindi, and I would be like, "Whoa, like this is a whole other world." And remember back then, we live in a very different time, like no technology, in terms of community as well. Like Hakka was where you would come find your community, which I thought was always really interesting. Coming like going to like a school that was more like, they had more white people, and then you were one of the few racialized people. Then you come enter this new world of like an Indian restaurant or Hakka restaurant. It's like, oh my God, like here's a community that I can actually like connect with. And food was one of those things. Food has always been a great way to connect to people.
And I love that you said it's like a community and food, like what we're doing now is like kind of embracing how food brings cultures and people together. And it's just a beautiful thing. Um, Fredericks is in Richmond Hill.
Mhm.
Okay. Because like that's where my family, as you know, my family's in Richmond Hill and I haven't, oh my God, I have to go. I have to go.
Yeah,
What's it
check
called?
it out.
field trip. And
Mhm.
and
Right.
in ramen,
Art.
in case if you're ever were to open a restaurant, Arc will personally make a field trip down to your
You would have no shortage of customers. Like
Oh
we
my
would just
God. See, the thing is, I would not make money because I have no sense of portioning, like none whatsoever. I would be if like you get those black containers, I will fill it till the lid pops off, and that's where it goes. So That's
That's
not
why.
problem. Like the amount of times, because I'm known for like my marinades for barbecues and whatnot among my brother's friends, and then known for my cooking and the family and whatnot. And half the times, like open a restaurant, do something, and I'm just like, no, I would never make money because I would give everything away for free.
No, the money will come because you'll have people that support you.
Oh, it's so funny. Maybe,
Oh my God.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah. I'll move on to the next question. How has your heritage impacted your life, decisions, and beliefs?
Oh, I think like the biggest thing is definitely the celebration of community. Love within a community has always been a big thing. Being South Asian, but particularly being like from the Punjabi, the North India, Punjab location, it has always been using music, culture, food, language to connect to people and to foster a community, to be there for one another. So I think that has always been almost like the fabric of my being. So besides the whole pressure that comes with being brown, where the parental pressure is like, do this, do that, you should become a doctor, etc., etc. Yes, because that totally has happened. It's definitely something I've learned from my parents, from my culture, just in general. Our legacy is always like building that community and injecting it into every aspect of your life. So not just personal between your friends, your family, but also your professional life. So something that's why like with the way I like to teach, my pedagogical practices are based on like community fostering, right? Based on bringing in emotions into it, because that's a whole part of it, being compassionate with one another, understanding we all need to support each other in one way or another, right? So that's always been a big, big thing impacting the way I've made moves in life.
Yeah, and for those who maybe haven't seen our live, so Raman and I have done an Instagram live on ARC's Instagram page. Raman is not only like a guest here, like another guest that we've had. Like actually, Raman is a very like close friend of mine. Like I consider Raman a very important person in my life. She's a mentor to me. She's a friend, and I was her student. So like, she talks about her pedagogical practices, and I've been fortunate enough to have experienced that. And I kid you not, like I've told Raman, I was like, I take what she has taught me in class with me now in my master's program, and I know I'm going to take it on with me into my PhD. And I literally just reached out to Raman as she was my TA, and I was like, how do I become you? That was my email, I swear. Like I talk on a Zoom with you because I want to know how I get to your stage in a few years. And from there, Raman took me under her wing. And she's seen me through like some of the worst latest nights, like doing applications and writing papers. Like, so just to like emphasize how much, community building is important to you. Like I've firsthand like have experienced what you cultivate through your teaching, through your friendships. And like, I see that. So I can attest to that.
I'm like about to cry.
Oh my God, don't start tearing because no,
this happened like last year. I think it was like my last class, and I was doing a guest. I had one of my ex students come in. So I at York, I TA for the Law and Society program, and I've been doing it for like the longest time, and that's where I met Aaliyah as one of my students from last year or the year prior, like 2020.
I think it was 2020. I could be wrong.
2020 or 2021, God knows. Like my memory is like jaded at this point. I'm like, no idea. And I still remember like the last meeting I tend to have is like this guest lecture where I have my past student come in to talk about law school applying and everything, and they are all started raving, and I literally started crying on camera. And I was like, no, this is not good. This is not good. But I think that's like the biggest thing for me, right? To be like why I want to do that, because at the end of the day, like I was also once like a student who didn't realize my own potential, was scared to make such moves, imposter syndrome till day happens. But in that moment as an undergraduate student, like you're clueless. And something, and why community fostering, like fostering community relationships is so important, particularly like that pedagogical, like educator and student relation to me, is this idea that I had to guide myself on how to get to this point, right? Like it was like learning on your own. And thankfully, like I did have, someone who became my supervisor in my master's, like guide me to this point. But at that time in my life, I was clueless. So if there's any way that I could help a student understand like they have the potential to go on and do big things, then why not? It's about being compassionate and empathetic with one another. We all have our inner struggles, and at times we just need someone, even if it is an educator, to kind of pull it out of you.
I totally agree. And I think that's why students like me and past students connected with you, because you approach pedagogy as not just an educator, but
Yeah.
like it was so easy for me to be like, please be my mentor. Like it was so, like, it was just so easy. But that's what, like, these are relationships that'll last a lifetime. And I hope
100%.
I hope to be you to someone, like to be like you to someone else one day. Like that's your legacy now, continuing through me to other people, right? Like it's just a magical thing. And it's not getting emotional.
Thank you so much, Aaliyah. Honestly, I appreciate that. It gets hard at times, especially now more than ever, because we were virtual when we met, and that was when like the pandemic, like it wasn't when the pandemic hit, it was like the first year of being virtual. And with that, like a lot of us educators feel disconnected to our students. We feel disconnected to academia because of everything that, but more so because of this whole idea of going either virtual or hybrid. And in caring for students and in caring for ourselves too, like we have to, I think it's important we be these people, right? Not distance ourselves from students. There's a reason, as much as like as a sociologist, it's important to be objective. I very much lived a subjective life. I think it's important to do that, bring everything back to yourself, and that's one way to not just do theory, but actually do theory, right? Do your research, do your work. It's through that connection.
Absolutely. Oh my God. What a great second question.
Oh, Lord.
I totally agree.
Christina, you can move on.
Yeah, and honestly, just to add on to the conversation, if you two don't mind, honestly, this episode is literally Meet My Mentor Part 2.
Yeah.
And we're making this a hashtag, so we'll make sure to put that. And plus, if anything, Ramen, I remember like after reaching out to you after the Instagram live, I'm just like, and even now I still see why Aaliyah speaks so highly of you. And honestly, it totally makes sense. And just honestly, what you're saying totally makes sense. It totally resonates with all of us, especially with ARC. And yeah, just being able to find that community and just brings everyone together. And it honestly, it just makes it so worthwhile. And
Yeah,
which is why it makes everything better.
100%. And even with you guys doing the series, like I've been watching season one and I've been enjoying it. And it's so amazing to see the way you guys are building this, like building this organization for yourself from where you guys started, the daughter's voice to this now. Like I can only hope that bigger and better things come your way.
I mean, I hope so.
And honestly, that means so much to us. So thank you.
No problem.
Should I move on to the next question?
Go for it.
Absolutely. Now, this one's a very interesting question. I promise you it's not bad. It's something that I've always wondered too, especially since Meet My Mentor Part 1. What made you decide to pursue your PhD?
Sorry, I'm just chewing.
It's okay. Take your time.
um, oh my God. I think a lot of that goes back to finding my voice, to be honest with you. All right. One second. I've had a very interesting academic journey, and I think I mentioned this in our Instagram live like years ago. You know, that if you had told me 10 years ago, because yes, it has been that long since I've been in school. I started my undergrad in 2009, so like a decade. If you had told me then that I would be doing my PhD, I would have been like, no, you lying. That would have been me. Because that version of me was done with academia. Like, I was like, undergraduate, done, cool, let's enter the workforce. Even if it means you're isolated, you're alienated to a certain extent because capitalism sucks. A lot of it, at the end of the day, like that disconnect with academia, it had to do with me and not being entirely happy with this neoliberal style of teaching, um, where I was just a grade for the professor. In terms of scholarship, there was no representation of what, like, in terms of like what his course content was, who we were reading, what was being discussed. So I was over it. I think there was only like one or two courses where I was like, oh wow, like this is interesting. I could relate to this. And what was the course? It was on race, critical race studies. That course, and there was one on contemporary theory. And that particular course I think was life changing for me because it stood out not only in terms of the professor, like James Overbo, fantastic scholar, mentor to me, someone I always say, like, if there's like the way Aaliyah said, like, I want to carry on your legacy, I've said that to him, like, I want to carry on your legacy, as contemporary as that is at times, right? It's just that's what I wanted to do. And here was like reading that course outline, seeing racialized scholars, and that being a first, I was like blown away. I was like, oh my God, yes, like this is really interesting. And then writing a paper for that class called A Brown Girl in a White World, which in a weird way, it's not published, but it actually is read quite a bit on academia. It makes no sense to me till day. But it was personal, right? And I think that was where my little spark happened. Like, okay, if we want some form of change, the personal is political. We've always learned that. Now let's make that happen. And long story short, it took two of my professors, including Dr. Overbo, to convince me that I actually have potential to go forward with graduate level studies. Because year four me, undergrad version of me, did not ever think that. I didn't have the tools to understand, like, how do we go apply for a master's, what happens in a master's program, how do we bid, how do we do this, how do we find a good supervisor, things like that, like all these little things. It's just been like from Waterloo, so I went to Laurier WLU to do my master's. From that point on, it's literally been like searching and uncovering a realm of myself, and all this wonderful scholarship that's springing from like BIPOC scholars. I was just like mind blown. I was like, I can apply this to myself finally. The work coming from critical race and ethnic studies, disability studies, and where I'm from, like my little niche is fat studies. It was a space that I entered, was like, I can finally make sense of my intersectional experiences. I can affirm these differences. I can begin my own liberatory project. And I think that's what it was, like, that really pushed me for my PhD. It's like, I need to do this. Yeah, and then I know it seems surreal to me even as I speak, because I'm like, holy crap. Till day I can't believe I'm here. Um I really can't. There's times, and when I think about, like, when I attend conferences, and I've had people come up to me, like, and I still remember my first conference. It was just, I finished my master's, and I was like, okay, like, let's just present this chapter that I wrote for my MRP, which later became one of my articles in the Fat Studies Journal, and hearing this big name, Dr. Amy Farrell in Fat Studies, and she's on the same panel as me. I presented before her, and before she presented, she whispers in my ear, that was a fantastic paper. And I was like sitting, I'm like I'm like crying. I was like, oh my God, please, like, is that really what you're saying? So it's like that, it's people like those. And I think that's what it is. Like, when you find your group of people, your group of scholars that you connect with, that becomes your push. Like, there's people that I use, like particular South Asian scholars like Jasbir Kaur, Amit S. Rai, Jasmine Zine, who was one of my professors at Laurier, Sunera Thubani, Himani Banerjees, who at York University, these people, the words that they wrote meant the world to me. And seeing that representation of scholars, seeing the content they were writing, connecting to it, and I was like, wow, I can do this too. And maybe one day another fat brown girl will understand what it means to, it's not her that's the problem. It's this social structure, this systemic system that is racism and sizeism that's made her feel this way. And that's, yeah, like it just became like, let's do theory, spice things up, let's make a form of whatever kind of change I can. And I honestly, I want to be a professor, so you kind of need a PhD. I can't be a professor without a PhD.
Oh my God. I was getting emotional as you were talking.
I know, sorry.
Oh, like, I mean, that's great. Like these episodes like are so raw and unfiltered in that way where, like we're really real. Like nothing about this is really like, ooh, let's stick by the book, let's stick
Yeah.
by the script. So I loved hearing that because when we were first getting to know each other and you were telling me why, how you got to where you are and what led you there, it really affirmed for me why I wanted to follow in your footsteps and why I wanted to pursue a PhD, which same thing. Back in my undergrad, I thought, like, are you kidding me? I was like, I hate school. I don't want to do another how many more years. So similarly, like, again, like talking about legacy and community, like what you and the professor of the class that you TA'd for, Tyler Totten, who's now a mentor of mine too, like what you guys have done for now me, a person that's, entering into that realm, is open my eyes to a whole, like, school is, when you say like, oh, I'm going for my PhD, and it's like, oh, not like a medical PhD. A lot of people are like, why would you want to do that? Like, are you just a professional student? Like, you do not know what you want to do in life, that's why you're doing this. It's like, no, it's not that. It's because there's a calling there for us. You know what I mean? There's this group. Yes, like, I don't want to glamorize academia like it's this whole like perfect thing. Like, it's totally an institution that's like just as, corrupt in many ways as other institutions. But if you find, that literature, that group of people that just speaks to you, and that you can really see yourself making like ripple effects in society through what you're learning and through these community building projects, like it all becomes worth it. All the late nights, all of the tears and the stress. It's just, that's what a PhD, I think that I love that we're talking about it. Like, that's what a PhD can offer people. It can offer community. It can offer finding yourself, finding your identity, affirming yourself, loving yourself. Like, as hard as a PhD can be, and even a master's program as I'm experiencing right now and Christina's experiencing, we learn a lot about ourselves. And not that it gives us worth, but I don't know, I think like it's through like understanding the history of, for me, like my focus on animal studies, like the history of animals in the law, the history of animals in society. It's just, it all makes sense to me, like why, my values are where they are, and everything. So, oh my God, we're just like nerding out on why a PhD.
I mean, but also like I always think about these generational curses, right? Like as a kid of immigrants, as a first gen immigrant, it's just it sometimes just like holy crap, like I've broken that mold of like, oh, you just, there's a lot of my parents till day don't have an idea of what I do. My dad still thinks I'm doing psychology, which makes no sense. I was a psych major at one point, but that was a long time ago. So when people ask him like, what is she, like, oh yeah, she's doing psychology, PhD, and I actually took my parents on a conference. It was the Popular Culture Association. It was a Fat Studies conference in Indianapolis. This is 2018. And he's like sitting there and he's like, is this really what you do? And obviously, like, the parents are like, do you get paid for this? So it's all these questions of being this forever student that comes with this idea of doctoral or just any type of graduate studies, is that forever student stuck in a limbo, but you're learning and you're enjoying what you're learning is like the most important thing. So I know if there's something, if I wasn't happy with it, I wouldn't be doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, should I move on to the next question? Christina, what do you think?
Uh, in any case, I'll just leave my quick minute here. Even though I won't be pursuing a PhD moving forward, because it is one not my thing, but I commend both of you for currently
We're
and
keeners.
pursuing it in whatever you may be. And plus, when you said like able to find a group of scholars that really resonate with you, like as role models, but and also trying to find it in your like for your research interests and for your papers respectfully, that really resonate with me because even though I'm still looking for like scholars, it's just that limited representation of for us, especially as Asian Canadians, it's very limited, and especially with my work so far involving like work in labor and sociology of trade unions, public policy, and oh my, and yeah, and especially with the airline industry, it's very limited. So just being able to put our foot in the water just really makes sense and able to pave the way.
But if no one's done it, you are the person to do it, right? Become the entry point. That's what I
Yeah.
try to do. Like that's when with the area of that studies, when I had originally started doing my like when I had originally started doing work in fat studies, there was barely any research that I was able to find on these intersections of fatness and racialization. There was, yes, there's fatness and disability, there was fatness and queerness, but that was always like a missing gap. And then so that's when I kind of decided like, okay, cool. I will be the entry point to that if I can on Punjabi women and how they experience fat phobia. Right? So if anything, if you're that missing representation, Christina, my advice, like once you're done your masters, publish if not a chapter out of the MRP, and you become the entry point of those experiences within Canada.
Oh my God, I love that so much. Christina,
Um,
do it. You can do it.
I might have to reconsider. I don't know if I can publish that with ARC magazine though.
Oh, true. Oh my God, plug in. There's ARC magazine.
Oh wow.
That's so funny. This is the first time I think we're plugging it in.
It is actually.
It just sprung up. I feel like we should be doing that. Anyways, yeah, check out ARC magazine on the website. Um, I'll move on to our next question. I'm really looking forward to this. Raman, tell us about your current projects, such as the book release, and what has been the ups and downs of this project.
Oh my God. Okay. So I'm so excited. This book has been in the works for over a year and a half at least. Um, Originally I was just an author, and then my lovely co-editors, so I'm gonna name them because they need to, and like a round of applause for them. Allison Taylor, Kelsey Ione, Kala Evans, Amanda Scriver, and May Friedman. These are my co-editors. My lovely co-editors brought me on under their wing, and I was like, yes. I've been enjoying it so much. Absolutely can't wait for the book to be out for people to read. So our book is called Fat Studies in Canada: Remapping the Field. Hashtag Fat Studies in Canada. We're gonna totally throw that out there. I'm just starting that hashtag. I'm like, no, we need to do this. Um, Probably need something more cooler, but it'll work for the time being. So yeah, it's a community activist, academic based collection, edited collection. Um, it turns focus on the growing field of fat studies and emergence of fat study theorists, academic, artists, community activists in the colonial project known as Canada, right? So there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of gaps within the research. And one of the gaps is also that fat studies has been very much centered around America, right? So it's either the UK or the US, but a lot of the texts that come out in this field, they're always talking about American culture. So for us, we were like, we need to figure out a way to not only put our community members or community activists, scholars, etc., on the map, but also put fat studies in Canada on the map. So the edited book itself is looking at mapping the current state of fat studies in Canada, we have our book is broken down into multiple themes such as structural fat oppression, mapping methods and innovations, fattening, popular culture, fat phobia within medical encounters, the desiring of fatness. So we are reshaping, reframing fat as not as this state of pandemic or epidemic or disgusting or lazy, etc. All those narratives that we come to hear attached to fatness, which are very anti-fat narratives, but we're now thinking about switching it up. In what ways does our fatness bring us joy? How do we desire our fatness? How does it help us experience new things? So that's one of the themes. And our last theme is alternative frameworks and imaginings. So I'm very, very excited for the book. If I could tour it, I would put a tour for this book. Like if it was possible to do it. But I don't know. If it was possible, I would be like, y'all, let's do it.
God, look into funding. I mean, why not? At least maybe like in the GTA to like,
Yeah.
the
Maybe
universities.
if
Oh
we
my
do
God.
a release party, but we're actually presenting like our first presentation. We're doing a round table at the Popular Cultural Association Fat Studies area, yeah, in April. So we're really looking forward to that. Just getting all that prepped right now. So that's our first marketplace to kind of be like, hello guys, like this is it. Please read us, please buy us. No, it's a fantastic book. It's been life changing for me personally, right? In terms of not only getting to know my co-editors even more personally, but I think experiencing this whole process of just like doing peer reviews, collecting them, talking to these people, and there's times where it isn't the easiest, but it's all about making it possible, right? And I guess something to also kind of note, I have a chapter in that book. like and so yeah, so like I'm really excited for people to read that chapter. A lot of my work is autoethnographic based, very personal yet theoretical. It's my way of doing theory without being too abstract, so like bringing theory back down to earth, like, oh, like this is how it is. So my chapter particularly is on the theme of alternative frameworks and imaginings. So I'm really excited to see how people take it up. It attempts to merge the scholarship emerging from the field of affect theory. So we're talking about emotions, but on the collective aspects, not the individual idea of it. Critical disability studies, fat studies, critical race studies, particularly the work coming from Black scholars, is really important to that piece. And so I'm doing theory, applying Jasbir Corpoir, who in my head is my imaginary best friend. And I wish to like, if there's one thing I'm gonna try to manifest is meeting her, like, and working with her. Yeah, like, and applying her theory of debility politics, the way she's taken up in creating this triangulation of disability, debility, and capacity. And I'm using these terminologies to understand my own lived experience as a fat Punjabi femme, where this personal registry, which, we talk about in one of my earlier chapters in Thickening Fat, Fat Bodies, Intersectionality, and Social Justice, both Overbo and we talk about this notion of the human, right? Where our bodies, because they've been construed as needing fixing, pathologized, and whatnot, they've always been labeled as not quite or non-human, right? So our bodies have always been thought as lacking or needing correction through the diet or the medical industrial complex. So talking a little bit about that. But a lot of the chapter kind of hints at the intergenerational sizism experienced within the diaspora. Um, in a very ethical manner. I try to be as ethical as possible. My own relationship with my mom is put on paper, as I grew up watching her grapple with fat phobia, and then also the internalized fat phobia that happened on my part. And then our relationship as it shifted to me becoming her caregiver in the past year, as she went through COVID-19, recovering from it till day. Our relationship has always been almost like now I'm a witness of her body, in the ways that it was quickly dying or slowly dying over the past few years, due to institutionalized fat phobia and just violence in general. So that chapter, is just trying to understand, well, it's trying to demonstrate this theory of debility politics, right? Like, in what ways does sorry, in what ways can we demonstrate the ways bodies are produced as never being thin enough, never being healthy enough due to the structural inequality and social injustices that are occurring. So it's a very theory heavy chapter, but it's also me heavy chapter. Like, I feel like I just threw all my fatness into it, and all yeah, just all of it on paper. And I love, it's probably one of my favorite pieces so far. It's one of my only few pieces. Definitely, it's definitely one of the tops. Yeah. Yeah, and in general, like, doing an edited collection has been really interesting.
Raman, this book sounds like it's going to change lives. Like, that's the first thing that, like, yeah, you say it may be theory heavy, but like, I don't know. It's just, I'm so excited to read it. And I really do think that it's going to resonate with people and it's going to carry on through time. Like, how you want to work with certain people and you looked up to certain people. I feel like this is going to be one of those things for you.
Hopefully, there's so many great pieces in the book. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. From our introduction, if I could read an excerpt from our introduction, I would love that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Why
from from
not?
that to the art pieces. Oh, sorry, you said something? You're cutting off.
Oh God, my internet is really bad. I said, why not? You can absolutely read it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and then just as like a side note kind of thing on the book, in doing this edited collection, it was hard. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's a lot because there's a lot of things you're managing, right? And a lot of there's also like our own dialogues with fat phobia and trying to understand other people's lives as they put it on paper. So there's a lot of compassion that you have to show one another, particularly the ways we have to show our authors that. And more than anything, I want to recognize the compassion that our lead editors have always showed us, like our other co-editors, so Allison and Kelsey, for not only handling the administrative stuff, but because I don't know how they did it. I still don't know how they do it. I'm just like behind the scenes. I'm just here like, cool, thanks for the update. So kudos to them. But just being able to really bounce ideas off each other, bounce a vision of the book off each other, like, it's been so wicked. And it just bringing like complete fat joy as the center of this collection, rather than this idea like, here's another book just refuting the so-called banner of obesity epidemic, right? I think that was like the center, the highs and lows of everything. If I did have a low, it's the editing. I've been, yeah, Aaliyah knows, like, people, I go hard when it comes to edits. So it's time consuming, right? But to make something great or to push a scholar forward, sometimes you just have to do those things. Yeah, so I'm gonna read an excerpt from our introduction, and I would love to hear your thoughts. All right, let me just pull it up. Okay, it's just a little bit. All the editors of this collection are settlers on this land, and as such, we are compelled to remind our readers that no form of oppression can be interrogated without considering the operationalization of the systems of white supremacy and colonialization that continue to be present in Turtle Island. Therefore, a central aim with this collection is to investigate fat experiences and oppressions in Canada as they are informed by and intersect with anti-Indigenous and anti-Black racism. This collection offers analysis of the ways in which dominant and oppressive conceptions of fatness in Canada are inextricably, I can never say that word, but you get what I mean, inextricably tied to settler colonialism and white supremacy, positioning fat phobia as bound up with these other violent structures of oppression, and thus opening space to reflect on Indigenous and decolonial ways of thinking about and embodying fatness. Ultimately, as editors, we wish to acknowledge the fraught project of theorizing fat studies in Canada, and with this collection, position the Canadian state as inherently violent and built upon the oppression of Black, Indigenous, and otherly racialized communities. Moreover, as editors, we each experience fatness at the intersections of other marginalized positions and acknowledge how difficult and emotionally taxing it can be to do fat studies work. As fat people who have experienced the tyranny of anti fat dialectics, the denial of our lives spatially, medically, and temporally, and overall erasure, we understand the pieces in this collection can open us up to the pain of the past. Yet we also recognize the multiple ways we have found pleasure in utilizing fat standpoints as tools for resisting, reclaiming, and reimagining being fat and doing fat studies in Canada and elsewhere. Well, all in all, others before us have already been doing the work. They've been unpacking the complexities of fat life in this geographical realm and pursued this geographical turn in their own ways. So we attempt to push fat studies scholarship further by attending to all these authors and unpack the specificities of fat life in a nation that continues to colonize lands and bodies. Oh God, I can't speak sometimes. Last paragraph. Our objective with this collection is to further our fat liminal grounds and push to the forefront the multitude of theoretical and creative interventions springing from other parts of the North America. The scholar and activist whose work appears in this collection is something they've been doing trying to fatten Canada since their initial exchange with the realm of thought. We ask the following questions to consider the mapping and departure of the field of fat studies in Canada. How can we begin to map the field of fat Canadian studies? What makes the work of Canadian fat scholars unique? How does the Canadian fat identity define itself, and how is it constructed, reflected, and resisted in our cultural and political landscapes? What does the future of fat studies in Canada hold? We are engaged with examining the individual and collective contextualization of how fat bodies at various intersections of gender, sexuality, racialization, disability, neurodivergences, and other axes of embodiment and experience have been understood both historically and within contemporary Canada, a nation that has and continues to fulfill a white settler colonial agenda while remaining in the shadows of the United States as the Great White North. That was a lot of words. I reading it like the whole thing.
That was so, no, it was so beautiful. I can't believe we got like a little like snippet of that. Like I wasn't expecting that. Like that was so beautiful. I feel like we're so lucky to have had the snippet. So oh my God, everyone, you've heard it first here. When you watch this, I guess we'll be like updating obviously ARC stuff and letting people know when it's released and when they can buy, because this really does sound like it'll change a lot of people's lives. So thank you for doing this work. I mean, it's amazing, and obviously everyone involved in this book, like you're all, oh my God, amazing. So I'm excited to read it myself.
I'm excited to have you read it. And just, I wish I had images to share, but I don't. But we have this wicked cover coming out, and there's actual like paintings, paintings that have been digitized, of course, shared in the collection as well. So for the artist in you, for the scholar in you, it's all there.
I honestly love that. And plus Aaliyah, thank you so much for sharing the snippet. What I got out of that, it's kind of like a sneak peek of what to expect for like all of the book moving forward. And at the same time, it's also like a mix of like a land acknowledgement in a way. And I caught that definitely. And that really resonates with me, especially even though we're by our citizenship, we're under legal status as Canadians, but overall we're technically guests here on Turtle Island, and that's what, even on each episode, that's what we're all trying to recognize, and as each time we're trying to do this. And honestly, I'm just really excited for your book with your editors, or I always like to call it an academia mixtape. I was wondering, you were hoping if you would sign it.
Oh, I would love to. You're too sweet. That's too sweet. I mean, yeah, 100%. We'll have like a mini release party or something.
Absolutely, yes. You
Oh
heard
my
it here.
God.
Hopefully
Yes.
COVID is long gone and we can find the moolah to do that. right?
Yes. Oh my God. What's it called? Next, I think we should head to the last question. Christina, do you want to ask the last question?
Oh, absolutely. In that case, last but certainly not least, what advice would you give to someone who wants to follow in your footsteps and pursue graduate studies, whether it be in your MAs, your masters, or your PhDs with the doctorates?
Oh yeah. So if there's any advice I could give you, is have faith in yourself. If you want to do it, like believe you can. Don't ever think you can't make it. And it seems very cliche to say that because like everyone says it. They're like, no, 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 you'll be great. Like no, if you love it, you know it. If there's something I've kind of adhered to my entire life, like do something that doesn't feel like work. Do whatever makes you happy. That you love, enjoy doing. If you find this is your calling, push forth and do it. Definitely in terms of advice, suggestions, I would say do research on the institution, the program, the people there. If there's one thing I've learned, it's do that. Because you want to fit, right? You don't want to feel disconnected with anyone in the program or the program itself. You want to find at least a group of people or that one person, one or two people that you fit with, you could work with. And work with meaning like do your program together, right? As a support system. I think that's like the biggest thing that I've learned. Find your people. Also, don't underestimate your worth. And I say that when it's time to do your applications, you are given financial packages, you know it, you deserve it, and you deserve more. So if you could bid. Do it, negotiate it. Also something like I've picked up on it. I was telling Aaliyah too. I'm like every time I'm like make sure you do this. Um, yeah, it's really don't stress. It's weird because I feel like I'm telling all this, I'm giving these suggestions and whatnot, but I don't apply it to myself as much. I'm like don't stress over how long it takes, but like you're gonna stress over, right? So I guess just like find like a fine line where you could tell yourself like it's okay if it's taking too long. Don't stress, it's okay if you're not at the point where you thought you would be. It's all right. It's a process. As long as you're finding joy in it, that in itself means everything, right? That in itself is also your own politics. You are reclaiming yourself in that. And that's I think the most important thing. And I have affirmations. Tell yourself some affirmations, okay? So we're gonna do this together. Okay, so some affirmations against imposter syndrome. I belong here. Repeat after me. I
I
belong.
belong here.
I belong here.
I'm quick.
I am good enough to be a graduate student.
I am good enough to be a graduate student.
I'm good enough to be a graduate student.
I have and am a wealth of knowledge. Oh, we've kind of, Aaliyah's like, whoa.
I am and have a
Of knowledge. And the last one, I am breaking generational cycles.
And I am breaking generational cycles, and I could say
I am breaking generational cycles.
Bomb, bomb. There you go. Say those affirmations and you shall not feel isolated, at least with yourself, disconnected to yourself for your work. I think that's the most important thing. The moment you start to feel disconnected with your work is where you need to like recheck everything. Why isn't this working for you? Okay. Yeah, any other advice? No, just do it. Like it seems, yeah, it's just like just the Nike, just do it. It's okay. If even if like you apply and you don't get in the first time, that's fine. It's totally fine. Reapply. Apply till you get in. Right? No one can ever take that away from you. Yeah, it's expensive. Who cares? As long as you're happy getting to that point, like that goal is what you've set yourself to do, and you're like, I'm getting there, do it, make those moves until you get to that point, and you'll be happy you didn't give up. And publish.
I can attest to that. Oh my God. Publish. And it's something, advice you always gave me was trust the process. And I've totally brought that with me. Like it does really feel like a process sometimes, but it's a process that I oftentimes remind myself, and I feel very lucky to be in this.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah, and plus with trusting the process too, because I remember applying for my I remember applying for my master's program to the program of sociology at York, and then I remember it's just like, what if I don't get in? What if they don't like me? And then everybody else was literally almost said the same words as you did, trust the process, and just kind of like manifesting every good intention until I got there. So it really helped paid off. And plus I will definitely take your advice and publish, and I will make that a hashtag.
Publish.
Yes.
Even if you're not getting paid.
I'm so sorry about my internet.
Okay.
My internet is just a disaster. But we are at the end of the episode anyways. We're like just coming to a close. And usually around this time we rate the food. So it seems like my internet's back for a second, yeah? Like you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Oh, I'm delayed. I'll rate first so I can just get that over with. Urban Haka, I don't know if anyone noticed, but like I stuffed my face in the first like 10 minutes. Like it's gone. Like it was so freaking amazing. I highly, highly recommend them to anyone. Urban Haka, delicious. Like 5 out of 5, perfect.
Sweet. And in terms of Everest Haka House, located at Mimico along Lakeshore Boulevard West, honestly, the paneer pakora, especially dipped into the Manchurian tofu. I'm still trying to dip this into the sauce, even though I finished the tofu. I haven't gone on deal with my desserts. I tried a little bit of the mango lassi. Honestly, 5 out of 5. I will be back for this.
Yeah. 10s across the board for me. I'm a very slow eater.
Ramen?
So I'm a very, very slow eater, and you can see my plate is still full. But the soup is done. 10 across the board.
Nice.
Like, yeah, I love this place. Singapore Garden. If you're ever in Brampton, go there. You know, the owner is wonderful. She calls my mom auntie, although she's like the same age as my mom. So like yeah, Lee is amazing. I love her food. I love her customer service. I will go back there till the day I die. Yeah. I realize I brought death up quite a
Yes,
few
we
times.
love our.
And
Oh my
I'm very
God.
sorry.
No.
It's so
No
good.
more goodness. No. Okay. I just want to say thank you so much to Raman as my friend, my mentor. I don't know how I would do this crazy life without you. I'll mute myself now so Christina can see us.
All right. And Raman, on behalf of ARC and the Friends of ARC, thank you so much once again for joining us. Shout out to all the restaurants for able to bless us with the amazing haka, especially for me being the first timer here. Also, in case if you guys didn't know, please follow Raman, our very special guest of honor, on her social medias, especially on Instagram. And please stay tuned to check out her new book along with her fellow co-editors, which is coming soon. Also, feel free to follow ARC on our various social media channels, which includes actually Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. We love you.
Thank you so much. Don't forget
Thank
to
you so
like and
much.
subscribe. The buttons are there. The buttons are somewhere.
Oh yeah, we haven't done that yet. And we'll link all of Raman's information. So thank you again for joining us. Bye everyone.